let's get into the Luigi Mangione thing, right? For some of you guys that don't know, Luigi Mangione had to actually appear in court in New York on his state case. They went ahead and I think they charged him with like terrorism charges at the state level. Crazy stuff. So he gave a little smirk while he was in court. Bunch of girls were there. Look, you can see all the women here, right here in the back, literally, right? And look at all the security. You got detectives here. You got the cops here, 4 of them right next to him. Because obviously they're worried that, you know, some vigilante might try to come in and help him out, right? Yeah. We're going to speed this up. We're not going to watch the whole thing, by the way, chat.
Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
It's the first time we're hearing from suspected murderer Luigi Mangione.
As you guys know, he got charged federally for murder and stalking. Now he got charged by the state for terrorism. And this is him appearing in state court.
Mangione himself on the shocking allegations wagered against him. He says he didn't commit murder in the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And Mangione's defense team
Pled not guilty.
has a lot to say, too.
And we're going to fight these charges, whether it's in the state.
Now his lawyer is going hard in the paint, saying that it's a spectacle. They're turning it into a circus. They're charging him in the federal court, in the state court. They're trying to, you know, she made the argument that he's not getting a fair trial, or he's not getting fairly, his due process is being violated because the law enforcement has been parading him around. Obviously, we saw that ridiculous perp walk a week ago when they brought him in from Pennsylvania.
Or federal to the fullest extent.
Mangione appeared in New York State Court early Monday morning for an arraignment on his state charges. All this comes after a nearly...
Yo, guys, Noble said that you should be good now. He said he wasn't seeing it on his end, but he refreshed it. And he sent you an email, revoked the 19th.
Month-long saga, starting with the murder of Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan on December 4th. Thompson was in town for an investors meeting when he was gunned down in broad daylight outside of the New York Hilton Midtown. The case immediately gained national attention, not only for the murder, but also for the nationwide manhunt that followed for the suspected gunman who seemingly disappeared. He only left behind several shell casings at the scene, with the words delay, deny, defend written on them. So early on, it seems that the suspect may have been making a statement about the United States healthcare system. And investigators say...
Yeah, he absolutely was. Because in the United States, for those that are unaware, we don't have universal healthcare, guys. You got to, you know, pay for it almost out of pocket, or you're at the mercy of the insurance companies, you know, doing the claim on your behalf and actually paying for it, which they do everything in their power to not pay. Which, by the way, guys, I'm looking right now. We got, let's go ahead and get this thing up in the algorithm. We got only 633 likes on YouTube on Fresh and Fit. So, guys, do me a favor. Let's get this thing to 1,000. We should be getting 1,000 likes easy. We got a lot of you guys watching right now. Well, you got, what, like 5,000 plus? So, like the video, guys.
All of that was backed up when they arrested 26-year-old Mangione and found his notebook. Inside this notebook, Mangione apparently wrote about his intent to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies at its investor conference. So Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he now faces several charges, including forgery and possessing instruments of a crime, because we can't forget he was found with a ghost gun when he was arrested at that Altoona, Pennsylvania McDonald's. Late last week, Mangione finally waived his extradition and was flown over to New York, where he faces both federal and state charges. The federal indictment was unsealed just last week.
Now, the police, the reason why they claim that they went ahead and did a perp walk like this is because their claim is that people wanted to break him out.
And we broke.
And they also didn't want anything to happen to him, you know, should a vigilante come and attack him.
It down right here.
Which I could see. This case did get big news.
On law and crime. But in case you missed it, here's the Reader's Digest version. The federal cases Mangione faces are charges of murder through the use of firearm, 2 stalking charges, and a firearms offense. All right, I know you're multitasking when you're watching our videos, but if you're out running errands, listen up. I have to tell you about this new app called Upside. 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the 2nd degree and a final count of criminal possession of a weapon in the 3rd degree. This was the first time we saw Mangione in street clothes instead of a jumpsuit as he was marched into court. The hearing began with Mangione entering a plea.
Charge you with the crime of murder in the 1st degree and other related charges. How do you plead to this indictment, sir? Guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
After that, we learned some new info almost right away, that the state case will come before a federal case.
As we understand that we have primary jurisdiction, and we have been informed by the U.S. Attorney that they intend on allowing us to try our case first. So with respect to whatever goes on there.
Well, that makes sense because, like I said before, murder almost always falls under the state normally first, guys. So I'm not surprised.
As the party with primary jurisdiction, the trial and the sentencing will take place here prior to anything that takes place in the federal system.
Up next in the hearing, Mangione's defense, headed by Karen Agnifola. We'll let her explain what concerns she brought up to the court.
First, we request immediate, expedited discovery in this case. The people have had this case for about almost 3 weeks, and that's more than enough time to gather as much information as they can give to us, especially now that we have two proceedings that we have to answer to, one of them being death eligible. So we are requesting that we get immediate discovery of the New York City Police Department and FBI and federal and state documents. And the second thing I want to make a record of, Your Honor, is I'm very concerned about my client's right to a fair trial in this case. He's being prejudiced by some statements that are being made by government officials. Like every other defendant, he's entitled to a presumption of innocence, but unfortunately, the way this has been handled so far, his rights are being violated. And as you know, Your Honor, there's a wealth of case law guaranteeing his right to a fair trial, but none of the safeguards have been put in place yet here. In fact, it's just the opposite of what's been.
It's almost impossible to get a fair trial nowadays if your case hits the news with social media and everything else going on, man. It's crazy.
Been happening. He's a young man, and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here. These federal and state prosecutors are coordinating with one another, but at the expense of him. They have conflicting theories in their indictments, and they are literally treating him like he is like some sort of political fodder, like some sort of spectacle. He was on display for everyone to see in the biggest staged perp walk I've ever seen in my career. It was absolutely unnecessary. He's been cooperative with law enforcement. He'd been in custody for over a week. He waived extradition. He was cooperative at all accounts. There was no reason for the...
Guys, 765 likes. Let's hit 1,000, guys. Do me a solid. Like the video. I'm streaming right now on Christmas Eve, guys, for y'all. Right? Tired still from the traveling. Woke up, went to the gym. So let's hit 1,000, guys. All right, I don't want to have to stop the stream. Do me a solid. Let's go ahead. We're going to take over 2025, chat. So let's go ahead and like the video.
NYPD and everybody to have these big assault rifles that, frankly, I had no idea was in their arsenal. And to have all of these, the press there, the media there. It was.
I mean, it's M4. Come on.
Like perfectly choreographed. And what was the New York City mayor doing at this press conference, Your Honor? That just made it utterly political. And as Your Honor knows, under Lauro v. Charles, the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit has held it to be clearly established that these staged perp walks to the media, unrelated to a legitimate law enforcement objective, is unconstitutional. And I submit there was zero law enforcement objective to do that sort of perp walk. There's absolutely no need for that whatsoever. And frankly, Your Honor, the mayor should know more than anyone of the presumption of innocence that he too is afforded when he.
I knew she would say that. For those of you guys that are unaware, the mayor, Eric Adams, if I'm not mistaken, that's his name. He got indicted by the FBI as well for accepting money from the Turkish government and lavish trips.
Dealing with his own issues, and frankly, I submit that he was just trying to detract from those issues by making a spectacle of Mr. Mangione, and there are consequences to.
I knew she would say that. That's funny though.
This, he has a right to a fair trial, and
this is a pretty. If I'm not mistaken, this is a pretty famous lawyer, guys. This woman knows what she's doing.
And I just want to put on the record statements that the mayor made publicly about my client. Nothing saying alleged, for example. And he said, I wanted to send a strong message with the police commissioner that we're leading from the front. I'm not going to just allow him to come into our city. I wanted to look him in the eye and state, you carried out this terrorist act in my city, the city of New York that I love. And he wanted to show symbolism. Your Honor, he's not a symbol. He's somebody who is afforded the right to a fair trial. He's innocent until proven guilty. And the mayor was talking to jurors, future potential jurors that elected him. Those are the people that elected him, that he is talking to and calling this man a terrorist. So, Your Honor, I just want to make a record of this and put everyone on notice that this has to stop, and my client is entitled to a fair trial and the presumption of innocence.
Here's how the judge responded.
All right, well, as you know, I have very little control as to what happens outside of this court. But I can guarantee you, as I guarantee every defendant that comes through these doors, that the defendant will receive a fair trial. And we will carefully select a jury if that time comes or when that time comes. But yes, we should expedite discovery.
And the state replied to all this too.
Your Honor, the discovery in this case is voluminous, to say the least. I have never seen a case with such volume of evidence, aside from the issue of the quality of the evidence. And I suggest to counsel, because we have a discovery portal, but given...
Yeah, because normally the state gets shitty-ass cases, so they don't get crazy discovery like this. His defense, guys, so the discovery process for you guys, that is where the prosecution, right, and the criminal investigators work together to get the defense attorney all of the documents that they have that they're using against their defendant, right? This is the discovery process. Obviously, very important in due process. So she requested, look, I need all the discovery. I don't have any of it. And he's saying, oh, well, we have a lot of discovery. It's extremely voluminous because it's a big case. Because keep in mind, guys, he doesn't just have state documents. He's got federal documents too, more than likely. He probably has FBI reports. He has detective reports. He has all this shit. So for him to turn it over, at this point, I mean, he can, but it's going to be a lot. But he's trying to get more time, basically, is what he's doing. By the way, we're almost at 1,000, guys. We're at 904. Let's hit that 1,000. Help a ninja out, right? Since everybody wants to go ahead and say that we fell off, yeah, we fell off. So let's go ahead and get the likes up and get back in that YouTube algo and continue taking over like we have been, which clearly I still think we are because these niggas are constantly making videos on us.
How much evidence there is against this defense.
Haters gonna hate.
Then it would be smarter if counsel could provide us with a 2 terabyte external drive rather than rely on the crashing of the portal. With respect to statement and identification notice, we will be giving that notice within the next 15 days. We're preparing an ADF. We'll do our best to expedite discovery, but I'll say that with redactions and with the volume of it, we're hoping to do it as best we can under, this is not a usual case in terms of the thousands of hours of video tracking and the like, and the fact that we're not only responsible for discovery in this county, but in Altoona where the arrest was made and where several officers were involved. And we're in touch with those people, and we're going to get everything counsel is entitled to. As to...
oh, yeah, because he's also getting prosecuted in Pennsylvania as well, guys. Don't forget, he got hit in Pennsylvania with, like, having a fake ID, a firearms charge, etc. I think he got hit with, like, 2 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. So he also has a pending case out of Pennsylvania, which that he's never going to go back to that jurisdiction. He's going to be... New York's going to take this thing.
Other issues, I think a 30-day adjournment to see where we're at, and to, of course, council's aware of the various notices. We have notices as well. I take it that council will abide by the statutory limitations on their notices with respect to any notices they believe to be appropriate. As to council's record on the mayor, basically repeating what the mayor said, I don't know how that advances the ball. We will comply with our ethical obligations with respect to trying this defendant's guilt in this courtroom and this courtroom alone.
All right, lots to break down in this case. So we've got to bring in criminal defense attorney Serena Townsend. Thank you so much for coming on with us today, Serena.
Thank you.
Now, this is one of those stories we've been following since the moment it happened, from the manhunt to his arrest in Pennsylvania, his extradition to New York. It's constantly updating, and we have a new update as of this morning. Luigi Mangione appeared in New York State Court to be arraigned, and he pleaded not guilty to the charges. What are your thoughts about that? Are you surprised by that plea?
Not a surprise at all. It's the rarest thing in my experience for somebody to actually take a plea at arraignment, specifically if
Yeah, never. Like 9 out of 10 times that only happens if like they were agreed upon. And the arraignment, guys, just so you guys know, the arraignment is where, so you got initial appearance and you got arraignment. So initial appearance is when you're first arrested and you're brought in front of the judge, right, within 24 to 78 hours. 72 hours of you being arrested. Then the arraignment is more formal, where it's kind of like an initial appearance, same exact thing. They read the charges to you, everything, but then you enter in a plea. 9 out of 10 times you always plead not guilty, right? Because they don't even have discovery. They don't even know what they're pleading guilty to yet. And obviously the case is kind of just beginning, right? It's the beginning of the formality of the court proceedings. So the only time you're really going to plead guilty at an arraignment is like you struck a deal with the prosecutor prior to like getting arrested. Typically they file an information and there's some kind of deal.
you're facing, the charges that he's facing, I can't even imagine that there was an offer on the table. So for him to even consider taking a plea in that scenario, it would essentially mean he would be pleading guilty to the top count of murder in the first degree. So not surprised at all. And it's a pretty typical way to kind of get the ball rolling on the case.
Everyone's really talking about these charges because, of course, we have the federal ones, but in regards to the state, we have several counts of murder, and the terrorism charge is the one everyone is talking about. A lot of people are bringing up January 6th. Okay, these people didn't get charged in a terrorism type charge, but here Luigi Mangione is. Does that specific...
Of course, the liberals are going to say that, arguing the January 6th shit.
...area of the charges, the terrorism part, makes sense to you?
It does not make sense to me. For me...
Also, guys, get your chats in. I'm going to be reading the chats here in a little bit.
This is a strategic move by the DA's office to overcharge him in this case. We do see this happen in prosecutions from time to time. It's very unfortunate because, in my opinion, it's just an abuse of authority for the DA to do that, for him to overcharge Luigi Mangione. I think, in a situation like this, if Luigi is the person who actually committed the crime that's been described, the appropriate charge for a top count is murder in the second degree, because he, if it's him, had the intent to kill and did kill. Those are the elements of murder in the second. This terrorism charge that's attached to the murder in the first degree is absolutely overcharging him. And DAs do it because they like to intimidate in order to get a plea, or if the case goes to trial, they like to tell a jury.
And also, it's the state, guys. The state doesn't care about losing. That's also very important to note as well. The state doesn't really give a shit about losing. They lose all the time. Unlike the feds, they don't lose.